So today there was a Veterans Committee hearing in the Senate about veterans VA compensation and how to improve it. And there were comments from people in the system, outside of the system, and one in particular that stood out, and we're going to watch it.
Thank you, and I look forward to answering any questions the committee may have.
The next guy after him, he's
Thank
actually
you.
pretty cool.
Dr. Gade.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the opportunity to testify on the VA disability compensation system. My testimony will differ from most you've heard. I'm a member of no veteran service organization and have no motive other than to help restore the lives and dignity of millions of veterans. For too long, you've been told that the best way to care for veterans is to shovel billions of taxpayer dollars into their pockets. This approach has resulted in a veteran class that is sicker, more marginally employed, and more suicidal than ever. By paying veterans to be sick, we create more sick veterans, separated from meaningful lives of purpose, and we deepen our suicide crisis. I developed this perspective through hard experience and long study. I was wounded in combat twice, losing my right leg and spending a year at Walter Reed. After recovery, I earned a master's degree and joined the White House Domestic Policy Council, where my previously acquired user-level experience was bolstered by my work alongside both the Joel Shalala Commission and the Scott Commission. I later completed a PhD in public policy focused on the VA claims process, and while teaching at West Point, co-led the Independence Project, a randomized control trial demonstrating the powerful link between employment and health. In 2021, I published Wounding Warriors, How Bad Policy is Making Veterans Sicker and Poorer, and recently served 2 years as Virginia's Commissioner of Veteran Services. The surge in disability claims is not due to combat injuries, but to a culture that rewards illness. Last year alone,
I'm going to stop right there. We're going to stop a couple times, and then we'll do an overall impression. Not due to combat injuries is fucking wild. First off, compensation, pension, and access to services is not only for combat-related injuries, sir, doctor. They are for service-related injuries. Some people do not get injured or suffer trauma because of combat. Now, I did, right? My PTSD is because of my combat. It's combat related, right? And I would argue that the sub-symptoms that show up because of my PTSD, therefore, are also combat related. What about the people that were sexually assaulted on a military installation by another service member, doctor? Should they not have access to care post-military career? Because that's not combat related either.
over 450,000 new compensation recipients entered the system, while total combat wounded from the global war on terror number around 50,000. Last year, more than 270,000 veterans began receiving compensation for tinnitus, which is 100 times the number of GWAT amputees over a 20-year period. Blessedly high
Completely
survival rates
unrelated.
from combat wounds are not the cause of the growth. This lie allows advocates to tuck every veteran disability claim under a cloak of virtue. Instead, the avalanche of claims is driven by nonprofits and pay-to-play claims companies that encourage veterans to selectively exaggerate or falsify symptoms to, quote, grab all they can, end quote.
What is his evidence for that? Because he doesn't discuss it. I'll tell you that already. I've watched this several times before I started making this video. Are there companies and are there individuals that do exactly what he just said? Absolutely. Absolutely. I've seen it. We've talked before about fraud in the system. It exists, right? Just like any other government system. Right? Any other system where this much money is involved, fraud is going to exist. The VA is no different, right? But that doesn't mean that you take away from the people who need it and who go about it the right way, because some people are playing the system. How about you fix the system, not take away from those who are using it the right way, seeking care, continuing their care. I just had a VA appointment yesterday. I have another one on the 7th, right? I don't miss my appointments. I take my medicine. I go to my therapy. So I don't know what the fuck this guy's talking about.
Quote, aging, genetic, and lifestyle conditions are increasingly labeled service-connected, resulting in tens or hundreds of thousands of veterans rated as 100% disabled who have no true incapacity or whose incapacity would have eventuated regardless of service status.
So he's claiming that people who get older, veterans who get older, have age-related issues. No shit, right? My argument for that, very quickly, is those issues are exacerbated by our service-connected issues. Period. Hands down, period. You're telling me that my neck and my back would be in the same condition now that if I hadn't served in the United States Army? Because if you think that's true, you're fucking crazy. Because if I hadn't served in the United States Army, I'm not humping 10, 15, 20 miles at basic training with a 40-pound pack. Right? That ain't happening in the real world. Come on now. Come on now.
I propose two principles of reform. One, meaningful employment is powerful medicine. A 2020 paper called Employment a, quote, critical mental health intervention. Unfortunately, veteran participation in the labor market, especially among men in prime working years, is markedly lower than their civilian counterparts and has been...
So he wants to shove male working age veterans back into employment when they are rated at 100%. Or when they are rated as non-employable. This guy is fucking insane. Okay? So he thinks that us going back to work, whether it's physical labor, behind a desk, or whatever, is magically going to fix our mental health. For those of you that know me, I left my job of teaching, my passion, my career, because of my mental health. Now, that's just one example. It's the only example I can give you because it's my example, right? It's my experience. But something tells me I'm not alone here. So he wants to shove everyone back into the factory, if you will, and that'll make everybody happy. What the fuck? Who the fuck is this guy? Like, honestly, look, I have nothing against work. I started working when I was 14 years old. If it were up to me, I would love to be back at work. Like, I would love to be doing what I used to do, right? To the best of my ability. But I can't. Because my disability says no. So I say, you know what? I'm more important than work. Period. I am more important than a job. Veterans out there, you're more important than a job. Your well-being is more important than any job. This guy doesn't think so.
Been steadily declining over the past 20 years. Disability
the guy in the back shaking his head is hilarious.
Rewarding inactivity.
In the blue
Some
suit.
programs like IU create a direct barrier to work. Any separation from the labor force causes isolation, malaise, and reduced income, coupled with a demand for ever higher disability payments. We should shift dollars from paying veterans to be sick towards meaningful incentives for gaining and maintaining productive employment. Early positive incentives can have a long-lasting positive effect.
Positive incentives. What are we, children? What the fuck are we, children? So the government, this guy wants the government to pay for the wars, but then only pay us if we follow their little employment rules, but not pay for care after the wars. That's what he's saying. That's exactly what he's saying. And we've talked about budgeting before in previous videos. Please go back and watch them if you haven't. We are already technically the VA, whether it's compensation and pension, but mostly whether it's the care side of things, it's already grossly underfunded compared to the Department of Defense or War or whatever you want to call it. Grossly underfunded. Because we pay more for the war, but we don't give a fuck about the warrior when they come home. When they're no longer in the service, right? This guy needs to rethink his strategy.
As demonstrated by the Independence Project. 2, disability compensation is a destructive goal. Disability is a negative word. In Latin, dis means not.
We get a Latin lesson here.
Part. The disability compensation system pulls veterans into a destructive identity as, quote, disabled veteran, rather than helping create a positive, forward-looking life and career.
That is a false equivalency. I am a disabled veteran. That is what I have become because of my service to my country. Is it negative? That's up to you, right? That's the perception of the person who views it, right? I don't view it as negative. I'm proud of some parts of my service. I'm not proud of the way my government conducted themselves in the war that I fought, right? But to say that all disabled veterans are seen in a negative light by the veteran community, dude, fuck you. I mean, this guy's a veteran. You know we have a word for this, right? And my veterans are going to know this guy's a blue falcon. He's a buddy fucker. Right? He's a buddy fucker. Yeah, I understand prompting and pushing for reform, but this isn't reform at all. Right? And I give you a Latin lesson, but I don't know fucking Latin. Okay? This isn't reform. What this guy is doing is wanting to change the system to fit whatever narrative he has regarding veterans. And hey, thank him for his service, right? He served his country, and that's awesome, right? He went to West Point. That's amazing, right? He seems to have an affinity for amputee veterans, which I understand, right? Like, I know a lot of them, okay? And that's all fine and well and good, but he's taking away from his own people. He's taking away from his own people. So you're telling me he wants to walk into a room full of amputated veterans with PTSD, and say, hey, it's time to go back to work. Full time, regardless of what your mental health status is, because it'll make you better. I thought the 1940s was over. I thought we evolved as a human race. Perhaps I was wrong.
This system is anti-thriving, anti-productivity, and ultimately anti-veteran. Further, it discourages future generations serving by painting veterans as a troubled problem class. The compensation system traps veterans
I'm fine
into
being a
disability
troublemaker.
identity, teaching them to chase 100% rating as a proof of honor or source of validation. 9 of the top 10 conditions for newly rated veterans are easily exaggerated or totally unverifiable.
9 of the top rated conditions for a veteran are easily exaggerated and non-verifiable. Then why do we have a claims process? Why do we have CMP exams? I'm not saying the process is perfect. I'm not. The process can be improved. Right? So is this guy calling me a liar? Is this guy, because one of those is PTSD. So is this guy saying I don't have PTSD after being in the system for well over a decade? This guy's calling me a liar. Unfucking believable.
We need a system that affirms veterans' capacity to thrive, not their presumed fragility. Here are several steps that would protect the integrity of the system. 1, treat but do not compensate for non-disabling conditions and eliminate conditions caused by genetics, aging, or lifestyle from the compensation.
Non-disabling conditions. So he's saying PTSD. He's saying PTSD. This guy is anti-mental. He is anti-mental health. No matter what he says, he's anti-mental health.
Roles. Sleep apnea is one obvious example. There are hundreds of others.
People die from
2,
sleep apnea.
Require active treatment for compensated mental health conditions. If compensation is warranted, so is care. 3,
We have to
extend
go
VA
to
medical
care.
eligibility.
If you miss VA appointments and do not attend your VA appointments, they will review your compensation. Does it take time? Of course, the VA's backlog like fucking crazy. How about you fix that? I don't know what this guy is trying to accomplish here other than saying, hey, veterans, fuck you. You don't deserve shit.
To all service-connected conditions without tying it to disability ratings, removing an incentive for false claims. The current disability system robs veterans of purpose and dignity, trapping them in idleness and despair.
I have
Further, the
plenty of
isolation
dignity
brought on by separation from the labor market can and does send many veterans into a morass of tragic consequences. Reform will be difficult.
There's zero
Entrenched
evidence.
interests protect the status quo, but it is essential. A close look at past changes shows that what survives the legislative and rulemaking process are usually additions to existing programs or the creation of new programs. The VA budget grows.
He wants to rob Peter to pay Paul. He wants to create new programs that probably benefit whatever his agenda is, using government funds, by the way, that take away from the VA and fund whatever bullshit he supports. That's what he wants.
Despite the system causing immense ongoing harm. Deep structural reform will save lives and restore what veterans truly need: meaning, work, and hope. And to Senator Tuberville, I say, War Eagle.
Look at his stupid fucking face. Who the fuck is this guy? Can't even look at it anymore. What all of this means in a nutshell is, and like I understand what the Veteran Service Committee is doing, the Senate Veteran Committee is doing. They want to hear multiple arguments, multiple sides. Right? I'm fine with that. That's fine. And, you know, he's got to have stones to go up there in front of other veterans, being a veteran himself, to even make those statements. So kudos to him for that. Okay? Truly, I'm being real about that. I disagree with every fucking word he said, just about. Right? Should veterans have access to work programs? Yes. Yes. Veterans that can work, that want to work, should have access to programs that can get them jobs. 100%. But why are we attacking our veterans that are permanent and total or 100%? Why are we doing that? Like, what's the point in that? Like, is this your way to try to save the budget? Or the deficit? Because there's way better things to attack than that, like the Defense Department. So, you know, I'm all about reform and fixing the VA and improving the VA, but it's supposed to improve the VA. None of that improved the VA. None of that improved care for veterans. Incentives? Bro, if I wanted incentives, I would have stayed a teacher and fucking showed up for Pizza Fridays or paid my $5 to wear jeans while still having PTSD and wanting to kill myself. But hey, you want me to go back to work, right? And just straight out saying that 9 out of 10 of the most claimed things by new veterans cannot be medically proven is wildly inaccurate. It's wrong. It is wrong. There is a literal medical review. Compensation and pension has a medical review. Your CMP exam is done by a doctor. Now, is it the best doctor in the world? Fuck no. The VA can't afford that. Right? Can it be better? Yes. But to say that there's not a medical review is an outright lie. This is an attack on veteran benefits to the Veteran Senate Committee. And it's crazy to me that they even gave him that long. Now, I think when stuff like this happens, I've never been a part of it, everyone gets generally equal time. He reads a prepared statement. You know, and there were people before him and after him. If you guys want to watch it, I'll put the link in the description. That one just happened to be on Forbes. It was all over. You know, like it just happened to come across my YouTube. And like a couple of friends sent it to me. I was like, oh, I'll watch it. Yeah, no problem. Probably because I knew I'd make a video about it. But what are some ways that we can improve the VA while helping veterans? Do you guys agree with what the gentleman said? Because I vehemently disagree. I mean, I think he was dead wrong. Work and mental health, do they have a correlation? I'm sure they do. I'm not researched or studied up on that. But as someone who had to stop working due to a mental health condition, you can't make a statement that says, hey, go back to work, everything will be okay. Well, no, fucker. I left work because everything wasn't okay. I've had to go through the system and go through the process and denials and refiles and appeals and everything like that. And that's impactful and painful. And to outright attack global war on terror veterans, some who have seen combat, like me, and some who haven't, and to basically belittle those that haven't seen combat as like, oh, if you don't have a combat related condition, you don't matter. That's basically what I heard. It is crazy, man. Like, I know people that served in the military with honor and dignity that had some tragic shit happen to them, not in a combat zone. And those people deserve to be taken care of, both medically and financially, because they deserve that. You know, not earned it, they deserved it. Right? I'm tired of this narrative that, oh, I earned my permanent and total. I didn't earn that. I don't want it. But I deserve it. Because of the shit I've seen, the shit I've done, the shit I've been through, the shit I've tried to do to myself. Because of that fucking war. And it's me being honest. It's me being raw, me being real. If stuff like that starts becoming the norm over and over again on Capitol Hill, and they start attacking veterans' benefits, we have to stand firm and say no. We have to be the group as veterans that says, fuck no. Because look, people in the United States all the time like, oh, we're going to start the revolution. Veterans will actually fucking do it. Especially if you start doing shit like this. Again, we're all about accountability and reform, like I said in one of my last videos, right? We're all about improvement. We're not about what he talked about, in my opinion. We're not about what he talked about. But I'm going to leave it at that. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. And make sure you guys like, subscribe, share the video with everyone. And I'll see you guys next time. Take it easy.